let's talk about the Dolphins quarterback then. We've got the receiver Tyreek Hill. We've got Jalen Waddle, although there was some talk. I think it was hypotheticals. I don't think he's going anywhere. Tua, I believe, and we've had several people on last week where I kind of stated the question by saying, hey, I believe Tua is going to get a massive extension in the next couple of weeks. I think you'll finally get the news, and it's going to be somewhere 50 million plus a season. So, A, do you think that that's going to happen? And B, what should Dolphins fans' reaction be when that does happen?
Yeah, if I can look into my crystal ball, Tua is going to get a deal. And the way that NFL contracts work, I'm sure the highest number possible is the one that's going to be publicized. And so all the people like you, Hawk, and all the Dolphins fans out there will get to say, see, Volin, see how wrong you are, see how dumb you are.
Yes.
We love Tua here. He's getting the best contract. My hunch is that for the Dolphins, I do think you want to give Tua a new contract, because I don't think you want to put him through what the Giants put Daniel Jones through a couple of years ago, where he was in his contract year and it was a weekly conversation piece, and every game was a referendum either way on, is he going to get the contract, is he not? You know, much like you don't want a coach going into his final year of his contract, I think you want to at least give Tua, some sort of, a new deal to show that he's your guy. But I think the Dolphins have to thread the needle. I think they'll be crazy if they give him a top-end contract. I think it might be a lot of money in year one, but I think they need to leave themselves some outs, so they can get out from under the contract as soon as year two. You don't want a situation like the Broncos have with Russell Wilson, where they're going to be paying him $39 million this year to sit and do nothing or whatever, because, he signed such a good contract for him and a bad contract for them. So I think for the Dolphins, you really got to thread the needle. You want to tack on some extra years for Tua, show your support. Sure, give him a pay raise. This is the year to do it. The salary cap's exploding. This is the year to front load a contract. But I would think the Dolphins want to try to give themselves some outs, because I still think there are some questions about how much of this is Tua. Is he just a system quarterback? All the things that we've talked about over the years.
And to that point, Ben, it's funny, I was going to ask that question. Where Tua, we've all, like Hawk said, we had a bunch of people on talking about this Tua situation. Guaranteed Tua's a top 12 quarterback in this league. You know what I'm saying? Like he top 12 is not that impressive, I guess, but he's a top 12 quarterback in this league. But can you see Tua? We know the Terry Bradshaws. We know the Brad Johnsons. We know the Trent Dilfers. Can Tua be an MVP of a Super Bowl with the Dolphins? Is he that talented?
Could he be a Super Bowl MVP? Yes. Is he a guy who's going to lift up the team and carry a flawed team to a championship like Patrick Mahomes just did? No, I don't think that. And I would agree. I mean, Tua probably is a top 12 quarterback. In this league, that's enough to get you the wild card playoffs every year, which, look, you want to keep building. I mean, you do like what they're, the last 2 years with him and Tyreek and Mike McDaniel. It's working. They're a good regular season team. Unfortunately, the playoff circumstances just, I almost give them a pass this year. I think going to Kansas City and playing the -30, that's a tough spot for any team. So I don't fault them too much for being one and done this year. But I think Tua is going to be a quarterback where he needs everything perfect around him, and he can definitely make big plays and run the offense and win games in that sense. But I don't see him being a Mahomes where, like the defense keeps it close, then Tua goes and wins it in the fourth quarter, or, taking a team that is flawed offensively and still finding ways to score. I just don't see that being ever, Tua ever really developing into that kind of quarterback. So, being a wild card quarterback, a top 12 quarterback is a good thing. You don't want to just, throw that away. I think that's the problem that the 49ers have gotten into. They're so restless with their quarterback situation. But at the same time, I don't think the Dolphins should kid themselves into thinking that Tua is going to lift up people around him and is going to be, an elite top 3 championship caliber quarterback.
Ben, in 2020, the season prior to drafting Tua, in my opinion, the Dolphins tanked. They wanted to get a high draft pick. They had 3 first-round picks. That was the start of a rebuild for Miami and Chris Greer and Stephen Ross. And I know they've had a coaching change since then, and a lot of turnover in the coordinator positions. But we're 4 years removed from that season where they got their quarterback, they had 3 first-round picks, and they had stockpiled a bunch of picks to go out and land a guy like Tyreek Hill, and they have 0 playoff wins to show for it. You just said you keep building or rebuilding around a guy like Tua and Tyreek Hill, and I'm with you, right? That's the situation they're in. But when you look back over this 4-year stretch from that season in 2020 where you started a rebuild, do you consider it a failure to this point?
No, I don't consider it a failure just because, Solano, let's not be a goldfish here. Let's have longer term institutional memory. And this is a franchise that shouldn't be, poo-pooing making the playoffs 2 years in a row. This is a team that made it like twice over 20 years and just forever were, towards the bottom of the league and constantly firing their coach and changing things over and needing a new quarterback. And it was awful for the Dolphins for a long time. And so now here they finally have some positive vibes. They've improved their win total, 9-8, now 11-6, and they're making the playoffs, and it hasn't worked out. So sure, you'd like to see more success, and you can't keep flaming out in the wild card round forever. But to get the program where it's at right now, I think the Dolphins are in a good spot. They're an exciting team. They're one of the, the best offenses in the league. Every week, you're tuning in to see what kind of fireworks happen, good or bad. And yes, now is the time to start taking the next step. So Mike McDaniel, Tua, you want to start seeing, can you elevate the franchise to the next step? That is clearly what's next for them. And you don't want to keep spinning your wheels forever, but you should not minimize the accomplishment of simply just being a competitive team and making the playoffs 2 years in a row.